Hello everyone. Welcome to the webinar on Plan Your Career in Microsoft Azure. I'm Sharan Nayak from CloudThat Technologies, and I'll be your anchor for this webinar. I take this opportunity to briefly introduce CloudThat Technologies and our presenter for today, Jigar Pathak. For CloudThat, we've incorporated in March 2012. CloudThat Technologies provides training and consulting services in cloud, big data, and IoT technologies for mid-market and enterprise clients around the world. With the expertise in major cloud platforms, including AWS and Microsoft Azure, CloudThat is uniquely positioned to be the single technology source for organizations looking to utilize the flexibility and power cloud computing and IoT provides. Right? Till date, we've trained more than 7,000 IT professionals and conducted corporate trainings for some of the Fortune 500 companies, which includes Accenture, Infosys, Fidelity, HCL, Intuit, GE, TCS, HP, Philips, Flipkart, L&T, just to name a few. Right? We have presence in Mumbai, Bengaluru, USA, and UK, but also offer on-site and pre-scheduled public batches in different IT-centric cities of India and overseas. CloudThat is an AWS partner, consulting partner, Microsoft Silver Learning Partner, Microsoft Silver Cloud Platform Partner, Google Cloud Platform Partner, Red Hat Certified Training Partner, MongoDB Ready Partner. Right? So coming to Jigar Pathak's introduction, Jigar Pathak is a senior cloud solutions architect with CloudThat Technologies. He has trained more than 1,500 professionals on Azure platform. With over 12 years of experience working in the industry, he is responsible for designing, architect, deploying, and managing client infrastructures on Microsoft Azure and AWS. He holds MCET, Microsoft Certified Trainer, MCSA, Microsoft Certified Solutions Associate, MCSE, Microsoft Certified Solutions Experts, AWS Certified Solutions Architect, and CompTIA-CTT, that's Certified Technical Trainer. We also have Satya Prakash Sharma and Devendra Pal as our moderators for today's webinar. Over to you, Jigar.
Yeah, hello everyone. I hope you are able to hear me. So before starting with, I'll brief you about the agenda, what we are planning to cover in this particular today's webinar, so that we can set the context at the initially, and then we can move forward with the topics what we are planning to cover. Yeah. So first of all, we'll be starting with the cloud computing, what and why. So we'll brief you about what is the use case, what is the industry usage in terms of cloud computing, and we'll discuss about like what was there in terms of traditional infrastructure people used to implement and all, and how you can leverage the Microsoft Azure in terms of managing various different kind of workload on top of that. We'll be also discussing about digital transformation and opportunity trends in cloud computing. So how it will be beneficial, what are the different use cases we're going to talk about under this particular topic. Regarding the cloud service providers, so we'll be discussing about the different cloud service provider in terms of industry. So what are the among, top of the public cloud service provider or private cloud service provider. So we're going to talk about that, and why Azure is something we should choose in terms of career path. So that's we're going to talk about in this particular further topics and all. We'll be also discussing about the Azure services. So of course, within 1 hour, it's not possible to cover the very depth of the service, but yeah, we'll be try to touch base on as much as particular service as possible, so that you can have idea like what can be done, what are the different services available, how you can manage your particular different kind of workloads on top of that. And last but not least, about the certification tracks. So if you guys are planning to prepare your career in Azure, looking at your particular current job role and looking at your particular industry in which you are working, and based on that, what all the different certificates are mapped to that. So that is something what we're going to talk about. So we will be discussing about those particular concepts, and we'll brief you about more in detail what is there in career building or planning your career in terms of specific to Azure. Yeah. So let's get started. So here, initially, I'll be discussing about, uh, starting with this particular different industry. So if you see, this is the model of 1975 Ferrari, which has like around 495 HP of engine, and maybe you can think of that over the like 40 years, the evaluation under this particular industry is around, you can say, 50%. So the capacity, or you can say the overall you can say evaluation happened in that particular industry is like almost 50%. So from uh, uh, from that 495 to 750 bhp, that's the maximum right now, the horsepower is available with this particular car, and the movement between those particular industries like pretty much slow, right? If I'm talking about similar thing in terms of compute industry, so this is uh, the first mainframe source, the computer, which is like Atari 8800, and the first commercially available computer launch, right? So in the same year, like 1975, and which has the capacity of like 2 megahertz CPU, and maybe you can say the 256 bytes of memory and storage and other particular, the switch and links and everything you can see, right? So these are like standard machine which was like deployed at that time. And now, if you overall, if you see the current industry, so everyone knows that the smartphone has tremendously bring the evolution into the market. And if you see, like initially it started with like 1.3 gigahertz to 2.5 gigahertz CPU, now 128 gigs of RAM. And if you see the that's 70,000% faster than the mainframe machine what you have seen, right? So evolution into the IT industry is like tremendous, and based on that, the current scenario, what we are thinking about the cloud computing or cloud industry, or even if we consider the traditional IT infrastructure, what we see in our particular on-premise organization, where a lot of industry or a lot of particular organization move towards this particular direction. So if you see over here, if we start with the physical infrastructure, so here if you consider that when we are planning to build, deploy, and manage our particular infrastructure services for different kind of application requirement, be it web application, be it any particular gaming platform, or be it any e-commerce platform. So in that particular scenario, we need certain type of resources which take care at different layer, and which help us in terms of deploying and managing various different kind of workload, right? So if I start with the physical layer, then it starts with data center machines, networking equipment. So you can think of that to establish certain type of setup. You need this kind of like infrastructure setup, which start with your data center, so which includes your real estate, your land, and the setting up the overall physical infrastructure to run that particular entire business unit. You also need like machines which executes your particular different kind of workloads. Maybe if you are developing any applications and you wanted to share it with the industry, then probably your application is going to be deployed. Also the networking equipments, which basically connects to the different kind of environment, and then you can have kind of overall solutions to be up and running, right? So that's something what you can consider at the physical layer. In terms of low-level hardware resources, so here we can have compute, storage, and probably the network bandwidth, right? So these are some sort of like low-level hardware resources which requires to connect your particular physical resources to the external world, where you can provide your particular bandwidth, where you can provide your storage capacity towards your resources, so the end users can connect and access your particular applications or the solutions what you are planning to deliver. In traditional infrastructure, it also includes the database, web servers, and application servers, right? So, the whatever the applications we develop and deployed, which need certain type of database structures, which takes care of your particular data storage and all, right? Definitely, I mean, there are different kind of data storage people used to implement. So it can be your SQL, NoSQL kind of data storage and all. You also need your web servers, which takes care of some sort of like long processes at the back end, and maybe you can have your application servers, which takes care of the load and deploy your particular overall applications to be up and running. Uh, Under this, after this particular low level software resources, you need your particular application layer, which talks to the end user, and user can connect to this particular services with the help of probably nowadays like applications are available with different I mean, the applications are developed in a different particular mode. So maybe you can access via the smartphones or tablets, or maybe it can be accessed via different kind of like devices, right? So the end user can connect and access those particular resources. So these are like you can say layer of traditional infrastructure we used to implement on premise. Now, looking at the issues of those particular traditional infrastructure, because let's say for example, if we are developing and deploying certain type of applications or certain kind of services, then we are investing a lot of time, amount, energy in terms of setting up that entire setup, the infrastructure setup, and then we are delivering the overall solutions to the end customer. So if physical layer point of view, you need a lot of upfront capital investment to set up that entire infrastructure. So you can think of like any popular or any well-known particular service provider in terms of e-commerce, in terms of gaming, in terms of any particular application point of view. They need like a huge amount of investment in terms of hiring the data centers or building the data centers. They need like they need to deploy a certain type of physical infrastructure on top of that. So as we discussed, like compute, network and storage and all, and at the same time they need a good particular network engineers who can take care of that entire infrastructure to be set up and up and running. So at physical layer, you need a lot of expertise in terms of setting up the highly available infrastructure setup, so that maybe you have to take care that your infrastructure not in a earthquake zone or not in a flood zone, and a lot of things you have to take care of it, right? So that's the base level you need to think of, and then you have to set up the overall data center in a particular region so that your particular resources will be available or accessible to the end user. If I consider at the lower level hardware resource, so one of the biggest challenge in terms of traditional IT infrastructure is to estimate the infrastructure requirement, right? So I mean, sometimes what will happen, you never know what is the what kind of traffic you're going to get it for your particular business application or the services what you're offering, and maybe in that particular keeping in that particular mind, you might overestimate your particular infrastructure, or sometimes you underestimate your particular infrastructure. And then the biggest challenge is to basically fulfill that particular load which is incoming towards your business application, and maybe to solve the problem of that particular load, right? So the most of the industry or IT industry face challenges in terms of estimating the infrastructure setup, because usually I have seen the observation of the traditional IT infrastructure is like usually they over provision in certain scenario, because they don't want to end up in terms of traffic issue, so that their application will face any issues and all, right? So they might over provision, and then they try to manage their particular incoming workload and all. And to looking at that particular problem, depend on the government policies day by day. If you see the infrastructure, the hardware which we buy to set up that infrastructure is becoming usually like day by day cheaper and cheaper, right? So in that case, if you over provision, then there will be like a huge amount of investment you are looking for in terms of a particular traditional infrastructure and all. Another particular issue, if I consider in terms of infrastructure, is basically the low-level software resources. So here, if you see the major issue in terms of software point of view, the licensing cost, right? So most of the cost goes into procuring license. So it can be your particular OS license, it can be your particular database license, or any particular third-party tools or softwares what you are using. So you are investing heavily in terms of procuring your licensing of your particular those kind of softwares and databases, right? So that is also one of the challenging part, because if you buy like bulk licenses, and tomorrow if new particular version comes up with in that particular software, you might have to again reinvest, at least update your particular existing softwares or existing technology with the latest version. You might have to pay something extra, right? So at low level software resource point of view, the licensing cost is something pretty much you can consider as a traditional IT infrastructure issue. In terms of application layer, so one of the biggest challenges is the tightly coupled environment of that particular geographic location. Because usually what happen, like if I'm planning to expand my particular business, so initially we start with certain particular region, right? So that we can define that, okay, we want to go ahead with like probably India or US or UK, any particular region. Initially you can pick and choose, and then you deploy your particular business solutions over there. But now if you in future, if you are planning to expand that, then it will be a challenging activity to move that entire setup or redeploy that entire setup into the other geographic location. Because it requires a lot of permissions, approvals, and a lot of things you have to go through with legal formalities, and then you will be able to set up the overall infrastructure or your business solutions into multiple regions. So in that scenario, the application availability at geographic level, it will be one of the challenge in terms of traditional IT infrastructure, right? Now, so if you consider the entire traditional IT infrastructure issue point of view, I consider it as a pyramid of effort. So if you see the actual part, what we required is the above one, the first blue color triangle. If you see that application layer, the actual use case of company or the business is required to provide an application to the end customer, right? It will be your game, it will be your particular e-commerce platform, it will be your any CRM or any SAP solutions, whatever they are looking for. So your core business environment, what you are covering is that application layer. Rest of the thing like low level softwares, low level hardware, or at the physical level resources, all these particular activity can be taken care by the cloud segment. So you can think of that almost 60 to 70% of workload will be taken care by the cloud, and maybe you can say 30 to 40% task which we required in terms of managing our particular application or our particular business solution. Usually we require that kind of activity, right? So according to this particular cloud computing fundamental, so according to me, the definition of cloud computing is I can say that cloud computing is the delivery of computing as a service rather than a product, right? So we can use compute as a service, so that it will help you in terms of deploying and managing various different kind of workload into cloud, and you can use it as a service, right? So it will be based on the pay as you go service model, something similar. So if I want to give an analogy, then you can consider the electricity, right? So the electricity what we are using, it will be like pay as you go, right? So as much as you consume, you are charged for that particular electricity resources. So something similar to that, the compute resources are available as in a service rather than a product. So you don't have to invest in terms of deploying and setting up those kind of infrastructure or the data centers, and then you are like setting up the overall setup for those resources like physical layer, hardware layers, software layers, and everything, right? So those things will be taken care by the service provider, and then you are just using it as a service, and you are like deploying and managing your particular compute resources accordingly. So I can say that that's the definition of my particular cloud computing. Now, if I want to consider the market opportunity in cloud computing, because whenever we think about our particular career path into the cloud computing, then we always look for the opportunity. What is the opportunity in industry? If I prefer my career path into the cloud computing, then what are the benefit and advantages available? Is there any particular jobs are available into that or not, right? So those things we are always worried about, and we'll look for that. So in this particular scenario, we'll be discussing about the uh, current market which is offered, which you can consider in terms of job point of view, and the prediction which is done by different research organizations. So if you say Gartner, I'm not sure if you have heard about that. So Gartner is like world's largest leading research company, and they usually announce the different kind of predictions every year, and that predictions basically towards the industry, which includes like different kind of information, right? So Gartner predicts that India public cloud market grows almost like 38%, and the total revenue will get grows up to 1.81 billion probably in 2018. So that's the prediction what they have done in terms of cloud computing market. If you consider the Indian market point of view, so the peak of the cloud industry is like day by day growing, and you will see like a lot of company. The Indian market has like showed very exponential growth in terms of cloud computing, and most of the IT industry has started investing resource development in terms of cloud computing and all. If you think of the Zenovo, so this is also one of the research organization where they have mentioned that cloud spending in India will cross by 2020 more than like 10 billion. So that's the huge number, right? So maybe you can think of the availability of jobs and the opportunity into in terms of cloud segment. It will be like very high in terms of cloud computing industry. In terms of India's domestic market, so right now I'm just talking about India point of view. If you think of like worldwide level, then it will be like very huge exponential growth, and the what do you say, the opportunities are available in terms of cloud computing as a uh, career path, right? So in terms of India's domestic IT market, so expected reach is to more than like 14 billion by 2020. So that way, if you consider the jobs and other particular thing, it's very much in demand. So these are some particular predictions where you can say the opportunity available in terms of cloud computing and as well as the IT industry point of view. If I think of the job prediction, so in that case, Wall Street Journal says that cloud computing is going to create like more than 14 millions of jobs worldwide. So you can think of the different roles which you can assume, and that will help you in terms of identifying like which particular career path or which role is suitable for you, and you can look for that particular job opportunity for that particular cloud segment, right? So that is something what you can look for. In terms of Microsoft themselves announced that cloud computing supposed to create like 2 million jobs in India by 2018. So the opportunity in terms of Microsoft Azure point of view, it will be like tremendous. So you can think of in terms of identifying, as I mentioned, that identifying your current job role and probably move into this particular segment. So that will help you in terms of identifying right track, and then probably you can build your particular career on top of that. And the other particular predictions in terms of International Data Corporation says that it's supposed to create more than 14 million jobs worldwide, right? So in terms of the career opportunity point of view, and as well as the what do you say, job point of view, the cloud computing is like you can say one of the leading job provider into the industry, right? So now looking at this particular job opportunity, the market availability of the cloud computing and all, the biggest challenge is the lack of skill. So If you think of Zenovo says that like globally 25% of IT talent will become redundant in 3 to 5 years. So in that case, so I'm talking about comparing between traditional IT infrastructure to cloud computing, because in traditional infrastructure, if customers moves their complete workload into the cloud, then you can say that the management layer which you are taking care in terms of traditional IT infrastructure, that will completely moves into cloud. So in that case, the on-premise administrative job roles and everything will be taken care into the cloud. So that way, almost like 25% of global IT talent will become redundant, right? If you think of like in that scenario, the cloud computing experts will highly in demand, because uh, the people who are going to manage their particular workload into the cloud, they should have enough expertise and what do you say, the cloud knowledge to manage and handle the different kind of workloads into the cloud computing, right? So in that particular scenario, they should have good amount of hands-on knowledge, where they were managing on-premise IT infrastructure and now it will be completely moved into the cloud. So in that particular scenario, they should have a good amount of knowledge to work with the cloud computing resources and all, right? And EMC says that lack of skill pros in cloud computing challenge, right? So that is one of the biggest challenge, because a lot of people are still working on on-premise, and they have like pretty much good hands-on with those particular resource management and all. And looking at the cloud, so you can say significantly that all these skills which required to manage cloud resources pretty much, maybe you can say, non-exist earlier, but now that is very much in demand. So looking at that particular scenario, uh, I can say that in IT professional or about like digital transformation, if I consider, so in that case you can consider that like almost 41% of IT professionals believe that their organization will be ready for digital transformation in the next couple of years, right? So this is something what the prediction from the different IT organizations. So as I mentioned that. Uh, as Sharon earlier mentioned that we have delivered like multiple trainings to the corporates, and now the prediction is like fitting into that particular requirement, because they have started training their particular professionals in terms of cloud industry, and they are moving towards that particular segment. 29% of IT professionals would be involved in like this digital transformation as primary focus, right? So usually when company moves into this particular segment, they prefers that the top-notch people who are working into that particular IT, their particular traditional infrastructure, they will be like trained more onto this particular segment, and then they will move into this particular transformation, so that they can take care of the different kind of workload management into the cloud. 91% of IT professionals believe that they have a role to play in their organization under this particular digital transformation, right? And you can say like 59% of IT professionals believe that organization is like unprepared for the transformation. So if you see the current scenario in terms of IT industry. So this is what like the expectations and the assumptions from the different particular IT pros, and their focus, or you can say how they are look up to the organization in terms of cloud point of view, right? So if we consider like these are the millions of job available, the opportunity into the market, like where are these particular jobs, looking at this particular digital transformations, where we can work, and how we can think of like what are the job role, what are the market we should look up to, so that we can fit into this particular cloud segment, and we can move forward into this particular direction. So here I can say that I mean I have given the segment like where what are the different segments you can look for the job specifically into the cloud market. So if you think of like the right hand side, the jobs going away. So if you think of if you are working in one of the segment, then definitely the left hand side, the new job, which is something what you can look up to, right? So probably if I start from the hardware or the bottom layer, the physical layer, and the lower level hardware, then if you see like hardware management, So people who used to take care of the traditional IT infrastructure and they used to take care of the physical infrastructure and all, that is something taken care by the cloud service provider, because now we no longer require any resource to manage the physical infrastructure, because that is something taken care by the cloud service provider, right? So in that case, the hardware management will be that particular job will be go away. Linux or Windows admin for installation. So probably in traditional IT infrastructure, we used to do that, right? So we used to implement and manage our particular infrastructure. So in that particular scenario, the complete particular, you can say, uh, management of that particular infrastructure used to taken care of, like OS configurations and everything were used to taken care by the on-premise admins and all, right? So now if you see the new jobs, so those new jobs are will be taken care into the cloud infrastructure architect, cloud infrastructure security, because now you know like how the on-premise infrastructure works, what all the security requires in terms of protecting your different kind of workloads and resources, how you can design your particular overall network so that sorry, the network administrations and all what you used to do it on premise, now it will be changed into the cloud part. So the fourth segment, what you can think of people who used to work on premise infrastructure management and all. If I go ahead with the little bit higher side, so traditional database administrations or backup specialist, or to be more precise, you can say the administrative role will now shift into the cloud, and there you will become like cloud DBA, because a lot of new particular services are available in terms of the Azure and all. We're going to talk about it in further slides. So a lot of new particular services and opportunities available, which takes care of this kind of like resource management into the cloud, right? So a complete job role will change into that. So it will be like cloud solution architect or cloud product manager, or probably you can say a cloud development specialist, which takes care of the DBA development and other particular stuff, right? So that is something what's going to be changed or replaced into the cloud. And last but not least, in terms of the developer point of view, which majorly focus onto the application part and all. So here you can say the traditional developer or the testers. So here, yeah, I mean, if you see the complete starting from bottom to the top, each and every single job role gonna be affected in terms of cloud, because the way you are working in traditional environment, it will be completely changed into the cloud environment, right? So here if you are a developer which takes care of the traditional application development, now you have to think of like how you can develop and deploy a scalable application which works in terms of peak load, and it will like distribute your load in terms of different particular servers and manage the high availability of applications and all, right? So a lot of things are taken care into that particular segment. If you have heard about like emerging role in terms of DevOps and all, right? So how you can automate your particular resource deployment and all. So the way we used to work into the traditional environment, now it is getting changed into the cloud environment, and a lot of new particular opportunities and job roles are available into this particular segment. So if I'm considering the few facts regarding the cloud computing jobs and all. So I have taken this particular prediction from the pay scale. So the source taken from that particular website. So if you see like the current Indian market, which is offering the 2.8 millions of maximum uh, I mean, you can say 2.8 billion kind of like job predictions are there in terms of solution architect or technical architect, or in terms of like IT architectures and all, right? So the job point of view, the growth is exponential, and probably you can identify the best suitable job role, and then probably you can grow into that particular segment. So that's more about so far what we have talked about in terms of overall understanding of cloud computing. What is the traditional, what do you say, the segment available in terms of cloud computing, and now we will move forward in terms of the service provider. So as we discussed, like who all are the top-notch service provider in terms of public cloud computing and what is there. So here I can say the the offerings in terms of Azure point of view. So if you are looking at the Magic Quadrant, so this is something again a Gartner research report says that. So as of now, like this research done in June 2017. So probably the next research will be released in June 2018. So by that time, this number will be, or the gap, if you see like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, these are like top three leaders into the public cloud service provider, and there are some other particular cloud segments are there which are offering like probably a private cloud or public cloud kind of services, and then you will see their particular service offerings into the industry. So I can say that the Microsoft Azure is something leading in terms of cloud service providing, and right now Azure is offering two different segments in terms of cloud. So one is left hand side, if you see the Azure, which is like public cloud, and Azure Stack. This is something available in the form of, you can say, the private cloud. So these are the two different particular cloud segments offered by the Microsoft Azure. So you can identify. So I can think of like public cloud is something where a lot of startups who want to like kickstart their particular business offerings into industry, but they do not have like very huge capex, or probably to be more precise, you can say capital investment, which they cannot afford in terms of setting up their particular overall data centers and building their particular infrastructures and then deploy their particular applications for the public usage. So in that case, probably they can look for the public cloud segment that is Azure is offering, so that they can build, deploy and manage their particular workload into the public cloud. So they don't have to worry about anything in terms of data center setup and all, right? Whereas this private cloud is something what you can think of where you can say the complete private cloud will be taken care by the organization. So a lot of organization, they already have their particular infrastructure on premise, but now they wanted to take care the resource management in the form of like Azure. So they can go ahead with the Azure stack, and then they can deploy their particular hybrid cloud scenarios on premise, right? So in this particular entire segment, we will be majorly discussing about the public cloud service offerings and all. So if I want to cover the service portfolio, so there are different services covered under the public cloud. So which includes you can say compute and storage. So this is something a particular standard segment as in service offered by the Azure. You can think of networking and content delivery. So this is again another segment where you can say think of connecting your particular resources to the external world, or providing security and maybe caching your particular content and delivering your particular content to the publicly accessible and all, right? So that is something what you can think of in terms of networking and content delivery. In terms of database point of view, so people who are working in terms of like storage and database point of view, then you can have like different services and segments available where you can look up to that, and then you can like design your particular storage system, your database systems accordingly into the cloud, so that you can take care of your different kind of workloads up and running into that. Security, identity, and compliance point of view. So in terms of deploying your resources, so the most of the customer always look for that the resource where I am deploying, it should be like highly secure and safe in terms of content point of view. So here Azure offers a lot of different services, and it also covers the compliance certificates and audit reports from the well-known compliance service providers and all. So your resource, what you're gonna deploy, it will be like highly secure and compliance oriented. Mobility and analytics. So Azure also offers like different services in terms of mobility. So nowadays, like we see that a lot of applications and services are coming up with the mobile applications, right? So it also supports such kind of development and management layer into in terms of cloud. And at the same time, analytics point of view, you also have the options where you can think of the big data solutions or predictive analysis or real-time analysis to be done in terms of cloud. App and game development point of view. So the industry who majorly focus in terms of probably only providing applications, maybe software as a service or any particular CRM solutions to be developed and deployed in terms of cloud, or a lot of gaming industry who develop games which is publicly accessible on social media platform or even on devices and all. So in that particular scenario also you can look up to Azure, and then you can manage your different kind of workload in terms of Azure. And last but not least, IoT, AI, and machine learning. So nowadays you must have heard about like IoT is like buzzword where you can say a lot of internet-driven devices are available where you can connect your devices to the internet, and probably you can send receive your information and you can manage your particular those particular devices, right? At the same time, AI and machine learning. So a lot of predictive analysis, or maybe you can say you can think of the lot of bot framework which is available in terms of auto response and all, right? So those kind of like lot of different kind of intelligence are available. So you can build and manage a different kind of workloads and different service industry. If you are belong, then probably you can take care of those kind of workloads to be deployed into Azure. So if I consider like couple of services, so as I mentioned that in 1 hour it will be challenging to explain about all the service portfolio. But yeah, here we can discuss about like very hand overview about the services which can be available in terms of Azure and all. So if you think of storage and all, so almost each segment has a different kind of service offering in terms of Azure. So probably storage, if you go ahead, like you have standard storage, block storage, computer networking, you have like VNet and VMs kind of services. Database point of view, so Azure offers Azure SQL database as a service and Cosmos DB as a service. So this is like relational and NoSQL DB services are available. If you're planning to deploy and manage your particular workload and you want to go for some automation and all, so you have like some other services in terms of web app, resource manager and all. Analytics point of view, Azure offers HD Insight and SQL Data Warehouse, which also give you like real-time data analysis. And at the same time, if you think of like security and monitoring and all, Azure has like services called Active Directory, Azure Active Directory, and monitoring and all, right? So these are like certain services what you can think of. Uh, in terms of job role, what you can think of, like if I want to go ahead and identify my jobs in terms of cloud, then there are certain particular dedicated job roles available under this. Like solution architect. So if you are already working as in like designing solutions and managing your particular infrastructure setup on premise, then probably solution architect is something what you can look for, right? So this is something a standard job role what you can look into the IT industry specific to cloud segment. If you're working in terms of application developer, then probably if you are a fresher or maybe a hardcore developer, then Azure offers Azure SDK, which allows you to build your applications, test and deploy it into the cloud. So probably the highly scalable application development and deployment, you can do it into the Azure. You can also look for the administrative role. So people who are working as an administrative role on premise, maybe you can look towards the sysops, or probably you can say sysadmin in terms of cloud or cloud administrator, where you can work with your different kind of segment, probably network admin or database management layer and all, right? So those kind of like activity you can do it in terms of cloud. And last but not least, in terms of DevOps engineer, so this is something you can say it's a emerging job role in terms of cloud industry, where you can automate your various different kind of workload, and then you can manage different resources up and running into the cloud, right? So these are like some sort of segments which is like you can focus on, and maybe you can align your current job profile to one of these, and then probably you can look towards the further career path in terms of Azure. Now, if you like look at it, the different business role currently in industry people are looking at. So those are like sales, pre-sales, business analysts, delivery project managers, or team managers, the thought leaders, right? It's probably SMEs and all. So these are like different business roles are available, and maybe you can fit your particular current job profile in one of these, and then it will help you in terms of looking towards the looking up towards the career path. Now, if I am thinking about the Azure point of view, So Azure offers a different particular certification track, and at the same time at CloudThat we also do provide training and certification related trainings on these particular certification track. So you can focus on a particular specialization in Azure, because Azure has a two different specialization in almost all different segments. So those specializations start with MCSA and MCSE. So MCSA stands for Microsoft Certified Solution Associate, and Microsoft Certified Solution Expert, that is MCSE. So these are the two different specialization track you can look for, and then accordingly you can choose your particular certification and you can move into that particular segment. So that will really help you in terms of identifying your particular job role, and then you can map your particular career path accordingly, right? So I mean, I can say that if I want to recommend that currently under which particular job role you are working, and which particular certification you should choose. So maybe there are multiple certification tracks are available in Azure, and that will help you in terms of identifying which one is the best suitable according to your job role, and which particular certification track you should choose, right? So that is something we're going to talk about. So if I think of MCSA, so Azure offers like three different MCSA track, which includes MCSA in Cloud Platform, MCSA in Data Engineering with Azure, and MCSA with Machine Learning. So people who are, let's say if I want to consider the MCSA with Cloud Platform, then in that particular scenario, people who are working as in system administration or IT professionals and SMEs, they can look for this particular MCSA in Cloud Platform. So like there are certain certification tracks, so I'll be covering in upcoming slides. So people who are specifically working in administrative job role or SME role, probably the Cloud Platform something what you can look for. For the developers who are like application developers and all, they can also look for this particular MCSA in Cloud Platform, because that focus 70532, that is the certification track what you can think of, that is developing Microsoft Azure solutions. That's something what you can look for. Yeah. People who are specially into like database management and all, then in that case you can look up to like data engineering with Azure, or maybe if you are more interested in terms of data science career path and all, probably the machine learning something what you can look for, right? So here, the MCSE point of view, Azure has cloud infrastructure, cloud platform and infrastructure as in specialization, and for data point of view, they have data management and analytics. So these are the two particular specialization, or you can say expert level certification track what you can look for. So this will help you in terms of identifying that what is the specialization you are looking for in terms of certification, and how you can move towards that particular direction, right? So how can I, like, which particular certification track I should choose as per my particular current job profile? So first thing in place to become a MCSA in Cloud Platform, so you have to clear at least minimum 2 certification from the listed certification track. So let's say for example, as I mentioned that if I am a developer, then probably I can look for 70532, which helps me in terms of developing applications into the cloud, and probably I can look for 70535, that will be like architecting Microsoft Azure solutions. So if you are like developer and probably involved in terms of architecting end-to-end solutions, probably you can look for this particular 2 certifications. If you are like system administrator or IT pros, or maybe you are just managing your particular certain kind of workload, then probably you can look for 70533 and 535. So that will help you in terms of like managing and configuring your particular different kind of workloads in terms of Azure. And as I said, like Microsoft has introduced private cloud also, so that is 70537. This is the brand new certification track which is introduced by Microsoft in February, probably you can say. So if you guys are planning to go ahead with managing a private cloud setup on premise, then probably the 70537 is also one of the certification track what you can look for. So out of this 4, at least to become a MCSA, you have to clear two different certifications. So that will make you a Microsoft Certified Solution Associate in terms of Azure. Now, at the same time, if you want to become a MCSE in cloud platform and infrastructure, then here the prerequisite is that you should clear at least MCSA, which includes two certification, and at least one of the remaining certification what you can look for. So for example, if you have cleared like 70532 and 535 or 533 and 535, then probably out of this particular around, you can say 8 certificates, maybe you can choose one of them. So if you see like first 5 certifications which are already exist, which is currently available, and remaining 3, so as I mentioned that the Azure stack which is already released, but the remaining 2 like implementing Microsoft Azure DevOps solutions and managing Linux workload on Azure, probably you can look for these particular 2 new certifications as well. So the 539, the Linux one is already available, but the 538 is something going to come up in probably March end. So this is also one of the certification track what you can look for, and then you can build your capabilities in this particular certification track as well, right? People who are looking for the specialization in machine learning, or probably if you are looking for the data specialization, so here to become a machine learning specialist, you can go for like 70773, which is like majorly focus on big data with R language, and maybe you can also look for the Azure machine learning or data science training or certification, which will help you in terms of preparing your career path in terms of machine learning as well, right? So this is something what you can look for. If you are for this you need like a lot of knowledge in terms of algorithms and all, because machine learning is purely depend on in terms of you can say the predictive analysis and all, right? So in that case probably you can think of that. People who are like more involved in terms of big data solutions and all, so big data developers, or probably you can think of the BI professionals or data scientists and all, they can look for this particular 2 certifications, where 70775 and 776 will help them in terms of SL Insight and big data solutions, where you can look for this particular kind of certification track, right? And in the same particular segment, the data management and analytics point of view, if you are looking for some specialization, then you can look up to like 473, 475, or out of this 5 certification, at least you should clear at least one of them. So MCSA probably in machine learning or in data engineering, and plus one of the certification from this particular list. So this will help you in terms of becoming a MCSE data management and analytics specialization, right? So as I mentioned that if I want to again a small recap, if I want to go ahead, so I can say that for developers and IT pros or SMEs who are majorly focused into development and all, they can go for 70532, that is developing Microsoft Azure solutions. People who are like working as in server administrations or system administrations and IT pros and all, probably look for 70533 and 70535. People who are like working as a solution architect or decision influencers or SMEs and all, maybe they can look for 70535, that is something solution architect, architecting Microsoft Azure solutions. People who are working as in like database administrations and cloud professionals and SMEs, probably they can look for 70473, that is designing and implementing cloud data platform solutions. And last but not least, in terms of cloud data platform solutions and all, probably you can look for 475 and all, right? So these are like more specialization track what you can look for. So to get the cloud role, probably the best way to get into that is get the right training or get the best material in terms of understanding this particular stuff and all. Get your hands dirty with this particular services, play around with the, so Azure offers like 30 days free trial, where you can go for free trial subscriptions, and then you can work with the hands-on activity with those particular services. And clear the necessary certifications as we discussed about, right? And yeah, of course, I mean, you can look for the companies who offer similar kind of opportunities for the job and all, right? So that's all about the plan your career in Microsoft Azure. To connect with me, probably you can write me at jigar@cloudthat.com, or at the same time we can connect over the LinkedIn. And for further course details and all, maybe you can visit cloudthat.in. So what we'll do is, if you guys have any questions or queries, probably I'll take up those questions, and then probably I'll hand it over the session again back to the Sharan. So let me see if you guys have any questions or queries, so that probably we can check out those questions and try to answer those questions as much as possible. And at the same time, in your particular chat window, you might have received probably the feedback link. Maybe you can go and fill up that, right? So let me go ahead and first of all check out the questions, and then probably I'll hand it over to Sharon. So how you guys will help us getting job? Anjan says. So I think Anjan, in that particular scenario, the first thing in place, maybe we can recommend a particular profile, your profile. I mean, depend on the certification and the job role what you have. Probably we can recommend in terms of industry point of view, because usually like organization contact us for the certain type of job profile. So maybe we can recommend your profile, and that way maybe it will help you in terms of move forward in terms of job. Manikandan has a question. Yeah, that a valid question. How the program followed by certification will help us to take career in the new space to move away from traditional jobs. So yeah, Manikandan, absolutely. I mean, this is like very much required, because if you want to get out of the traditional infrastructure management and get into the cloud, then of course, as I mentioned in my last slide, that the best way to get trained and certified on a particular role. So as I mentioned, the multiple job roles and multiple options, probably you can think of which is the best suitable your current job role. Train yourself under that particular certification program, and that will help you to lead into the particular job segment, and then that definitely will help you to get the placement and all. Anjan says that I am storage engineer with NetApp, so which course is suitable for me? So Anjan, in that particular scenario, I can say you can look for 70533, which is majorly focused on administration role and management layer of the infrastructure and the services and all. So yeah, I mean, when I say infrastructure point of view, so it includes compute, network, and storage. So probably that will help you to focus on that particular segment. So probably you should look for that 70533 certification. Satish has a question. I'm server admin, and which certification suit me? So yeah, Satish, I think as I mentioned that again, so people who are working majorly in administrative role, 70533, that is implementing infrastructure solutions in Azure. That is something certification track what you should look for. And going forward, maybe like down the line, you can look for 70535. That is another particular you can say certification track, which is like allowing you to go for a solution architect and also that will help you in terms of moving towards that particular direction. Yeah, Shatish has a question. If we are working professional and we are getting into new role, whether it will be take our last experience in count or as a fresher. So Satish, in this particular scenario, of course, I mean, any organization, whenever you move into cloud, so ultimately they are moving from on-premise infrastructure, right? I mean, some of the startups and all, they straight away go into the public cloud. But when it comes to enterprise organizations and all, they are moving their particular workload from on-premise to cloud. So I think I can say you are the best candidate, because in that case, you already aware, you already know that what is there on-premise, and now if I'm planning to move into cloud, what is expected. So in that case, your existing role also will be considered as an experience, and at the same time, your new particular capabilities and the knowledge about that particular segment also will be considered in that your particular experience. So of course, I mean, if you look for 100% job profile in cloud, then probably the employer might look for like how much work experience you have specific to cloud. But yeah, I mean, if it will be like overall, then definitely your on-premise or traditional experience also will be counted. This says I am senior software engineer. Which certification will suit me working in .NET technologies? Others, in that case, the 70532 is the best suitable certification track which you should look for, because that is one of the best certification for the developer. And going forward, maybe you can look for the DevOps, and so that was the new certification which Microsoft is supposed to going to launch. And probably 5 also you should look for, so that will help you for the solution architect 10 as well, right? So I think those are the certification probably you should look for. Yeah, so if you guys have any further queries or questions, feel free to post it. And at the same time, probably I'll hand it over to Sharon. So Sharon, over to you. If you have anything to add in this, maybe over to you now. I'm done with my overall
Okay,
presentation.
thanks a lot, Jigar. And thank you for the attendees to be a part of the webinar. I hope it was valuable and informative. Just to give a brief about the courses that are going to be scheduled for the upcoming month. So we have the Microsoft Azure Cloud Computing with Microsoft Azure Level 2, which is happening in the month of April for 14th and 15th. Right. We also have the next batch on in the month of May, 5th and 6th. So we also have the Azure Certification Bootcamp for exam 70533, which is happening in the month of April on the 28th and 29th. We have the Azure Certification Bootcamp for exam 70535. This is happening on the May 18th to the May 20th. So thanks a lot for being a part of the webinar. Request you all to fill in the feedback forms that are sent to you and send it back to us. Thank you so much.
So I think participants who gonna fill out that particular feedback form, so I think there's some what do you say, early bird discount option also there. So probably that will help you to get enroll yourself for that particular certification or the training, and maybe you can nominate for those particular batches as well. Okay guys, so thank you so much for attending this webinar, and we are ending up with this session. And I hope you have received the feedback link in your particular chat window shared by the Satya. So it's cloudthat.in/WSS. That is the particular feedback link what you can submit. Okay, and I have also shared my contact details and LinkedIn information. Probably we can connect over there, and if you have any further questions or queries, definitely you can send it to me as well. Okay, thank you so much for attending this webinar.